So as students plan gun violence protests, let's be honest, no one trusts each other in this debate. If you say sensible gun control, others hear code for, you're taking away my guns. If you say protect my gun rights, others will call you a murderer. I say let's make it simple. We need to harden soft targets. Big companies do this already. They're surrounded by guards. So should schools. It's a trillion-dollar industry waiting to happen. Bring back psychiatric hospitals. Right now, they house less than 1/10 of the people they did 60 years ago. A Florida agency looked at this latest creep in 2016, but they let him go. Do you want to bet it was based on space, that he wasn't worth a bed? We also must slash the media footprint of killers and reduce the appeal for infamy. Creeps obsess over the fame of previous creeps. It's their drug. Let's take away that drug. We need to think offensively. Instead of asking, how do we rig the system to stop perps from getting guns? Ask, how do we tag the perps and keep them from getting guns? We want to get the bad eggs, not the law-abiding ones. You see the difference? Florida was preventable. The fiend was all red flags. Perfect for a database of nuts and perps who shouldn't get guns. This guy had no violent felonies, so a civil tag is what could have nailed him. Based on testimony from cops, students, school officials, a judge could then issue a civil court order. Rather than defensively cast a wide net that catches tons of fish we don't want, you tag the right people who are placed into one single database along with violent felons. If you're in it, no gun. And you violate the database, that's mandatory prison time. So this isn't just see something, say something. It's actually do something. So by all means, protest. But it won't do much when you're targeting the haystack while letting the needles slip through. You know, we learned about the FBI screw-up, Kimberly.
Yeah.
And now about this Florida mental health agency that had examined this guy in 2016, but they didn't hospitalize him. The article I read didn't say why, but I'm assuming if there was room for him, why not hold him for 72 hours? They didn't even do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So they're going to have to do some analysis on that. They're going to have to go back and talk to the people who was in charge of intake, who was the supervisor on duty, who actually had contact, with him and made that determination. That's the only way we're going to get better, unless you do these kind of thoughtful, deliberate and, deep probing investigations to figure out how we can do it better for the next time, because this cannot continue to happen, especially when someone is basically screaming out for help, presenting these problems, having this violent, ideation and saying that they want to become a school shooter. They have the weapons, they have the means and ability to do so. They go in and they're in front of a mental health professional. The FBI has them on the screen. So it wasn't just on one level that this was a fail. It's on multiple levels that people could have caught this and stopped it and kept him in.
Yeah.
And held him. But maybe 72 hours, Greg, and then out again.
He was self-harming, Juan, I guess, on Snapchat, in saying he was going to buy. I mean, this guy had more red flags than, I don't know, a red flag factory.
Right.
And we talk about, we look at Vegas. I don't know how we could have prevented that. That guy capitalized on obscurity. No one knew. But here, this is a guy basically telling you what he's going to do, and nobody listened.
Well, the question is whether or not you take him seriously and, of course, his civil liberties, because what we know is going back to the 80s and
Reagan,
even earlier, right? Well, that was the point, that they deinstitutionalized people, and they said, you know what, folks have a right to not have their freedoms taken away because you deem them to be somehow mentally incompetent.
Right.
We're not sure who you're picking on, who you're not picking on, et cetera. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a danger, an increasing danger to the society when you have so many. It's not only people who are, of a murderous instinct, but I think that we have high rates of people who, for example, veterans who have, traumatic syndrome as homeless people. And I see more homeless people all over the country, to me, than ever. And I think that's a lot of mental illness. I will say I think it's great that the young people are willing to march in Washington. I think that hopefully it will change the tenor of the debate, because maybe if young people are saying you've got to do something, it will appeal to people who, as you point out, are just locked into, oh, you're going to take my guns, or you're going to... People say, wait, you know what? Gun owners, NRA members, think that background checks can be done better. And President Trump has now said today, or his aides have said, that he's interested in doing something to strengthen our background checks.
Well, to that point, Jesse, I think it's important that these suggestions that I made and other people, I think David French wrote a good piece for National Review on
Gun violence restraining orders?
Yes. That it comes from the conservative libertarian side because nobody trusts it coming from the other side because everybody's we hear the dog whistle that they're coming to take the guns away, right?
It's true. It's like a pre-9/11 mindset when it comes to school shootings. After 9/11, everybody realized they were stovepiping all of this information. All these other agencies weren't sharing anything with each other. But now you have the police, the school, the Department of Children and Families. Everybody knows something, even the FBI, and no one's sharing this information. So you look at a threat matrix on a kid like this. He's diagnosed autistic. He's diagnosed depressed. He's diagnosed mentally unstable by the agency that looked at him, and someone who was an at-risk adult because of mental instability. He was developmentally disabled, and you have a mobile crisis unit that is dispatched to the school. He's expelled for violent behavior at the school. The police are called dozens of times to the house. If you add that up, all those different things, and you say, you know, if someone qualifies for 60% of all those things, then maybe they don't get a gun.
Yeah,
maybe you make him wait a few years before he's able to purchase a weapon like that at that age. So obviously we need gun control, but it shouldn't be taking guns away from people or not manufacturing the AR-15. We can't even ban bump stocks after Vegas, but we should increase background checks and make sure the information is shared appropriately. Yeah,
I think the worry is that whenever gun control comes up, the law-abiding gun owner thinks it's about them, and the idea is to switch it. So you're saying, no, it's almost like stop and frisk or community policing, but applying to this.
Yes, I think so. And I actually think that it's not necessarily a congressional move here because the states are the policy innovators and the incubators. And I would think that this is mostly a states' rights issue. So it's not like you would have to wait for Congress and D.C. to actually move forward on something like gun violence restraining orders or these red flag laws. You could actually do that in Tallahassee. Yeah. And that could happen in Florida, or you might do it in another state. And that's an experiment. That's where all the experiments happen in the states, and then you can figure out a way if you want to move it forward. Sometimes the federal government will do things like tying transportation funds in order to get a state to comply with something like the drinking age or something like that. But if this were to work in a certain place, if you try it out somewhere, and you have somebody like the mother from Connecticut in Sandy Hook. She tried to get help. She didn't know where to go. There's also a real concern about cuts to Medicaid, which is where a lot of people get their mental health help if they're going to get any. I hadn't heard the autism diagnosis, and I think that I don't know enough about it. And I think that there's a tendency to then extrapolate that into others. But I would say this on the communication standpoint. The kids staying in this story makes it very hard for the media to ignore it. So they know that. And I think they've been pretty smart. They're working together. They're using their social networks in order to gather, not just in Tallahassee. They're calling for a march on March 24th. That sounds weird. A march on March 24th. And the more they stay in this story, it will be harder for people to ignore. But I don't necessarily think that this is just a congressional issue. I think that you can get more done faster at the state level.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think the media doesn't have to be... This is a highly visual protest, especially if it's going to be nationwide and the Women's March is getting behind it, which is then going to raise suspicions that it's more of a political event if the Women's March...
And a liberal one.
And a liberal one. And I think that's an error. That's an error. And also an error to continually talk about repealing the Second Amendment because that's never going to happen. But you hear that. I think if the media maybe focused on why he wasn't placed in the hospital, how did the FBI drop the ball, as well as these protests.
Right, but you want to make sure that this isn't going to be, a direct, full-on assault on the Second Amendment and a gun grab, because then that's, it's right, but given the political differences and ideological differences, to try to use this as a vehicle to try to confiscate guns. And there's situations where somebody can just make a complaint against a neighbor or something like that, and then you have to be very careful in terms of the guidelines.
And it'll be like...
take someone's weapon
once you get on the list, how
like
would you? What's
list.
the adjudication in order to get off of it? And that will be hard. But again, I think that this one of the states could start this.
And it's civil. And if it's a civil, tag, that means the bar's lower. And it's about these people. It's about the guy that you know. It's like nobody knows what to do with the problem.
Kimberly mentioned the a state agency that went and visited this guy after he was posting pictures on social media of him cutting himself and saying he wanted to do violence and buy a gun. He was wearing long sleeves at the time, and the reason they didn't involuntarily commit him was because they never even checked and looked at his sleeves. Hey, dude, pull your sleeves up. It was a really pathetic visit by the state agency, I think.
You know,
but that's what happens. If not thorough, and they're pressed, and they have so many cases, and then they go in and they do a rush. I mean, I won't even tell you about a case that I know. I mean, anyway, they didn't even check this little girl who had been beaten, and her scalp was duct taped back on, and they left her in the house.
You know, Juan, you brought up vets and the problems that they have. There's a positive argument to maybe on how to use vets. This is from Tyrus, who's a co-host on my show, brought up this as a practical solution.
When 9/11 happened, the planes hit the towers, airports were changed forever. We got the TSA. Our children are getting hit. It's time to change the schools forever. And there is a population out there, and I checked, they didn't have the new stats out, but last year's stats was 4.3% unemployment for returning veterans in this country. That's 435,000 trained men who have eyes and ears. We need to have them at the schools.
Is that a good, I mean...
I like it.
I think it's a great idea. What do you think, Juan?
Well, I know the criticism is that if you police the schools so intensely, then everything that a young person does becomes a criminal act rather than a teenager acting out, because all of a sudden there's a cop there and now there's a criminal record. And so essentially you are, you know, institutionalizing the school in a way that I don't think schools are intended. Kids are allowed to act out.
But if I understand what Tyrus is saying, they wouldn't be there in order to have disciplinary action oversight. They would just be there to protect.
Well, that'd be ideal, but
different.
what happens is if you have police there, then I think the school authorities go to the police. But I think let me just say, the bigger point to me is the one that you were talking about earlier, which is basically people get locked into their political boxes right here. And that people will say, you're coming for my guns. Now, to my mind, when I think about the NRA and its role here, I don't see how you get away from it, because they are so heavily politicized and they put so many dollars into Republican candidates. They back Republicans.
I think the NRA influence is a little overrated, because unions and Planned Parenthood give a lot more money. But if any president could do something on this issue, I think Donald Trump could. He's very supportive of the Second Amendment, and if he wants to give a little on background checks, I think the country would be open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is, would his right wing be open to it? Would the NRA be open to it? Because I think that so many, in the case of gun owners, are single-issue voters, and that's the only issue. They see the whole world through that prism and are easily threatened. And I think that if Trump, if the NRA was finally to say, listen, here is a reasonable step that we can get behind, it would make a huge difference. Because remember, we didn't get bump stocks. We haven't had any added steps in terms of the mental illness issue that Greg's talking about today. Medicare, as Dana was talking about, less opportunities for coverage for mental health issues. To me, this is right staring us in the face. We don't have to wonder about it.
Yeah, it's just that we haven't really had good practical solutions from the loudest voices. When you even look at what the ACLU came out against the Obama bill because of it was a defensive move. It was casting a wide net on people who can't fill out their Social Security benefits because of a disability. This crowd is not the type of crowd that shoots up schools. So anyway, President